Let's cross to Jerusalem and check in with our correspondent Noga Tarnopolsky. Noga, tell us more about how the Israeli government has been reacting to this famine declaration. Is it likely to change anything about their approach?
That's a great question. The Israeli government has basically responded thus far with great aggression and accusing the IPC, the UN body that determines where a famine is present, of participating. I'm quoting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu now in an interview yesterday, in a modern-day blood libel against Jews. He and his ministers say that there is, quote, no famine in Gaza. They reject completely the claims. And this is a part that I'd like to emphasize. Yesterday, the Israeli statement included specific and technical accusations against the IPC. For example, Israel accused the UN of having changed its own standards and cutting the threshold of hunger, of malnutrition from 30 to 15 just for this report only, and a whole line of accusations of this type. Well, we now have Jeremy Conindike, who is the president of Refugees International and an expert on famine, who's been in charge of American responses on famine, and he simply torpedoes these Israeli claims, among other things, by very simply showing that the IPC determination of famine in Sudan last month was made using the exact same baseline criteria as this report issued about Gaza. The other thing I would like to add is that while the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister of Israel have angrily kind of thrust this report aside, it remains the case that several Israeli ministers have demanded that no aid enter Gaza. So the Israeli army a few weeks ago announced a change of policy. Once it became clear how grave the situation was in Gaza, they said they would, for example, ensure humanitarian corridors for UN trucks, that they would facilitate the airlifts that we've seen on some of our TV screens. The facts are that these humanitarian corridors are not working. The UN says it is unable to bring trucks in safely. Its drivers refuse to take the risks they're being asked to take, and the airdrops are very spectacular to see, but really are not able to help people very much. So there we have it. It appears that the Israeli response, according to Mr. Konindike, was really engineered to try and misinform, he says, and we have not heard back from the Israeli government since then. It's obviously the weekend here, so we might hear back just tomorrow.
Now, Gaza City not only facing famine, but also an imminent, potentially, offensive from Israeli troops. What more do we know about that operation and when it might actually begin?
We don't have any dates, and we also don't have any really factability determinations. The Israeli army, I'd like to remind everyone, the chief of staff of the Israeli army opposed this entry into Gaza City when he was allowed to present a military plan to the cabinet a few weeks ago. He nonetheless was given the orders to prepare the plan and to prepare the army. So just 2 days ago, 60,000 reserve notices went out. That's one of the first steps in trying to organize the army, to prepare the army for a massive invasion of Gaza City. We know that there are constant operations now, some in Gaza City, but mostly in the vicinity of Gaza City. This could be the start of an anticipated invasion earlier than we thought, but it also could be part of a psychological war, so as to persuade Gazans to leave because they think they could fear that their city is now besieged and that they'll have even less access to food and to water than what they've had previously. There is an Israeli effort underway. We know this from open statements made by Israeli political officials. There is an effort underway to, quote unquote, persuade Gazans to leave without officially evacuating them. So all of this appears to be in the mix right now. And of course, the Israeli government has yet to issue a formal response to the offer of a ceasefire presented by Qatar, Egypt, and the United States, approved by Hamas. Instead, we have the Israeli Prime Minister who proposed starting new negotiations from zero, but has not described what they might look like, where they might take place, and has not sent an Israeli negotiation team. So we are very, very deep in the fog of war.
We'll be keeping an eye on all of that. Noga, thank you as always for your insight. That's our correspondent there, Noga Tarnopolsky, reporting from Jerusalem.